Hi guys, welcome back to the Creative Corner. We're gonna try something different today. We're gonna do our first book tour. I'm not feeling the greatest, so bear with me. We're going to try a different camera thing. So I don't know how it's gonna turn out, and I may have to re-record it. We'll find out. And if you don't like it, if I post it and you don't like it, please let me know in the comments, and we'll switch it up next time. But my idea is going to call this Details and Diamonds, and it's gonna be our book tour series where I go through all of my books. And I'm hoping to do one once a week, maybe once every other week. And so we're going to do a diamond painting while we talk about a book. And the book we're going to talk about today is this. It's White Lies by me. The book tour is going to go through all my stuff. The cover for this book has changed. This is the original version of it. The formatting has changed too. It now has a new updated cover that's more appealing for the YA genre it was written for, and there's no longer these random spaces. This was just the first edition of it, and this was honestly the first actual novel I published, and so it took a little bit to figure out. But this has been updated. I just don't have a updated version of this book. Apparently, I don't have an updated version of this series, which in and of itself is shocking because I thought I did, but I don't. And I mean, some of my later books I don't even have books for, so I have them on my Kindle though, so I'll probably show you on my Kindle. My Kindle's just black and white. But this is the book we're talking about today, White Lies, and it is the first book in my Web of Lies series. The series name has changed. It originally was the Lives We Live series, but it has changed to Web of Lies. So I'm going to adjust the camera so you can see what I'm doing diamond wise while we talk about Web of Lies. Can you see that? Okay. Well, hopefully this works, alright? We are working on the S's while we talk about this. Alright, so Web of Lies, I actually started writing in college. I was homeschooled up until college, and writing has always been a coping mechanism for me and a way to process things. And so in college, I needed to escape because I wasn't used to the scenario. Like, I was homeschooled up until high school, okay? And I went to high school before I went to college, but high school, I went to a private school. And so going to college was different. It was still a private university, but it was much bigger. I mean, it was way more than the 15 people that were in my graduating class. So, anyway, I started writing this as a dare. I was on DeviantArt at the time. As I guess I'll go ahead and give you my name on DeviantArt. I still technically have a profile on there. The original version of the story may still be on there. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't checked it in ages. But I was on there as Writing Angel 2010. That's actually where my pin name comes from. WA Ashes. Um, WA is Writing Angel, and then Ashes is related to my real name, and so that's where it comes from. But I started writing on there. I had a friend that I wrote with, and we did challenges. And he messaged me and said, "I dare you to write a story about a vampire in the Victorian time frame." And so I came up with Eliza. At the time, she was Eliza Stutton. Her name has changed to Eliza Stanton. But I came up with her for this challenge, and I just really liked her and really liked her origin story, and was like, what if I took that character, put her in a modern world, years after she's become a vampire, and now she has a fledgling of her own. And so this series focuses on Eliza and her nomadic coven, which is just her and her fledgling, okay? There are two types of vampires in this book series, but you only really see one. You have the nomads, who are like Eliza and Matt, who wander. They don't stay in one place forever. And then you have the nesters, who have actual nests, like vampire nests. And you do come in contact in the book with a couple nesters, because there is a nesting coven in, oh my gosh, now I'm forgetting the name. Shoot. They're in Connecticut, but I'm forgetting the name of the town. It's been so long, guys. The book takes place in Connecticut and Hartford. It's Hartford, Connecticut. And I chose that town because of their geography. I actually have never been there, but I did a lot of research into this town to try to get it right into the book. And so there's a nesting coven in Hartford, but they're not part of it. They're their own thing. And so this book, White Lies, takes place 2 years after Matthew Hex's human death. He was killed in a car accident on his way home from his sister's baby shower. And Eliza, who was hunting at the time, happened upon him, and he reminded her so much of someone that she had loved as a human that she decided that she was going to save him. She had never made a fledgling up to this point. She had just been a lone vampire. So she saves him. He becomes a vampire, and he's really struggling with not being human anymore. He's struggling with accepting the fact that he's dead, and he can't really partake in his family's lives. Like, he has to watch his nephew grow up from afar. He has to see his parents grieve and everything. And Eliza keeps telling them that he needs to let go of the past. And she encourages him over and over again to use his real name Matthew instead of Matt. And she never tells you why, okay? I never ever tell you why in the book why she does that. But you find out later on in the series that she's also not using her real name. She was called, when she was alive, she was called Elizabeth, and she goes by Eliza instead. And the reason that she does this, and like I said, not mentioned in the book, this is just me as the author telling you. The reason why she does this is because she is trying to separate the two lives that they've had, and she's encouraging him to basically start fresh. Like, yeah, you were Matt Hex, but now you are Matthew. This is who you are now. And it's kind of her way of helping him cope. But he doesn't get that. And so he gets frustrated with people calling him Matthew until the end of the series. And then a girl shows up and he's all like, yo, you can call me Matthew. I'm cool with that. And this book, not focusing on the series, this book is the start of a big plot that doesn't technically get resolved. And you're gonna be like, what the heck, Ashes? Why would you not resolve the plot? It's because the series is technically not done, okay? This is a trilogy, but it was supposed to continue more than what it is. This trilogy is actually the background for another series that I had planned. I just haven't written that series yet. And part of it is there's some character deaths that take place in this series that hit me hard as the author, and I don't know if I want to. The idea of going back into the series without those characters actually kind of hurt a little bit, even though I know that their ending was what their ending was supposed to be. And I can't tell you exactly what characters die. I will tell you that there's a couple false deaths and there is a permanent death, and I can't spoil that for you all. But in this first book, Matt and Eliza are just trying to live their lives, their undead life. And Eliza is trying very hard to get him to accept his new reality, but he's having trouble doing so. And then, in the midst of all this, Eliza gets notified that a sin from her past has come to light, and she's gonna have to face the consequences. Alright, this whole series is about facing consequences and the way that our actions impact not us, but the people around them. It's about owning up to who we are. It's about nature versus nurture. And so we see Matt struggling with his nature versus his nurture. Like, he wants to be a human. He was told what was good, what wasn't as a human. But now he's this evil monster this monster that people think is evil, and he's trying to reconcile that with what he knows to be right, and he has to learn basically a whole new definition of right and wrong. All right? But meanwhile, he got the consequences popping up. And so Eliza, in the middle of trying to get her fledgling on board and dealing with a 2-year-old vampire, she gets notified by a werewolf that she's not exactly on the best of terms with, that there's been a situation at hand. This werewolf's daughter goes missing, and the werewolf, Zimmerman, I love Zimmerman, he is a German werewolf who came to America. His family immigrated to America when he was really young, so he grew up here, but he still goes home a lot to Germany, and he is very much the embodiment of fatherhood. Like, his whole thing is he wants to keep his family safe. That's what it is. And so his adopted daughter goes missing, and he finds out that she's been hanging out with this vampire kid. And he doesn't like that she's been hanging out with Matt, because another kid of his had hung out with Eliza and things had gone extremely wrong. Like, the kid ended up dying. And so he's very adamant that he doesn't want Gia anywhere around Matt. And he goes to Eliza to stop this, and he goes, "Hey, my kid's gone missing. Your kid's been involved. Are you gonna fix this, or are we gonna have an issue?" And so Eliza tells Matt that he's gotta tell Zimmerman where Gia is, and he takes him to show him where she's been hiding. And she's not actually there when they get there. She's out hunting or doing whatever she does, because Gia does her own thing. She's probably actually out at a party, not gonna lie. But Zimmerman thanks them for showing him where she is, and Eliza and him get to talking, and he reveals that the Slayers are back. There are Slayers and there are monster hunters. Okay? The monster hunters in here aren't really bad, and you don't really come in contact with them because this book does not focus on them. Alright? They are supposed to actually come up in the next series. The monster hunters they hunt monsters who step out of line, that overdo, that lose their humanity completely, okay? The Slayers will hunt anything. And so they find out that a Slayer has taken a hit that has been placed on Eliza by a demon, okay? And so Eliza knows that this is connected to an old deal she had made, and she seeks help in the only place she can think possible, because there's one place that she knows of that the Slayers themselves can't really enter without permission, and the person who owns this place is super careful about who's allowed in, even though it takes the form of a club, and he's super careful about his wordings. And she and him actually have some history together, so she doesn't tell Matt anything, gathers him up, says, "Hey, we have to go, there's this thing going on, I have to explain later, but we gotta leave because people know where we are." And so they leave their apartment and they head to the Reef, which is owned by Xander Dorian. Xander is a merman. He's a siren, and he's actually a half breed. He's part human, part siren, and he doesn't really like being a siren. He would rather be human. He's also been in love with Eliza for literal centuries, guys. Like, since the 1800s when they met, he has been in love with her, and their whole relationship gets explained later on in book 2. But so he's like, wants to help her. She shows up and he's like, "Oh my god, it's been ages since I've seen you. The last time I saw you got in this huge fight. What are you doing here?" And at first he assumes that Matthew is her lover, and he's all like, "Well, I don't want him here, but I like you, so I'll let him here." And then she explains that Matthew is her fledgling, and he's like, "Oh, okay, I can handle that." And they kind of have this like, Matt and him have this like hate banter, teasing banter going on in the first book, just because they're trying to feel each other out. They're trying to understand each other. Because Matt doesn't trust Xander at all. And Xander, being Xander and being the oldest sibling of literal hundreds, wants to tease him and pick on him. And so Xander owns a reef because he's a siren and he needs a hunting den, and this is his den. Alright? And so the reef is a club, a nightclub, and he runs it with the help of his sister, Ambrosia. So when Eliza comes in for help, he says, "Yeah, I'll help you. You gotta hang out in the apartment above. We'll figure this out." Because the Slayer is after a book that they hid when they were younger creatures, when they had worked with Zimmerman's son, Luca. Alright? This book has very, very old magic in it. And this demon, who the Slayer Lila, took the deal from, promised her basically anything she wanted if she could get him the book and bring him Eliza. Alright? And so she's going out of her way to find this book because she figures if she finds the book, she can get Eliza pretty easily. She already knows Eliza, alright? They used to work together, they used to be friends. That's what makes this all very difficult for them, is that Eliza and Xander have history with this Slayer, and they knew her when she was just a teenager. And so they're now going off against someone that they had considered a friend. And so they have to find this book, and they visit a couple of the fallen virtues who are the seven deadly sins. They visit two of them to find this book. And when they find it, it bonds itself basically to Matt, and it's revealed that he has some magic in his past. But I can't say too much more because I don't want to ruin the story. But there's basically, they're trying to hide this book from the Slayers, but in the process, they have some issues. Their secrets start coming out. There's a fallen angel involved. There's an actual angel involved. Demetrius is some people's favorite. Demetrius is like Xander's conscience. Like if he was Pinocchio, Demetrius would be Jiminy. And he literally has sworn to keep Xander on the right path because he knows that Xander is trying to be the best version of himself he can. But sometimes he gives in to his creature nature and commits homicide and such. And so Demetrius knows all this. He also knows about Matt, and so he shows up and tries to figure all this out. He tries to help Xander out. But then there's like this mini showdown because Xander gets messed up in stuff that he shouldn't be messed up in, and Demetrius loses his patience with him and basically puts him in his place. One character dies in this book. I will not tell you who. If you read the synopsis for book 2, and if you're here for book 2's book tour, then you'll find out who. But one creature dies in this book. It is not a permanent death. I will tell you that. This is a temporary death. It is vital to the story, however. And so the creature dies redeeming themselves in a way. And this leaves the other characters feeling very vulnerable and very out of place, especially since the person who died is not the reason for any of this. And so they feel like the death was unnecessary and uncalled for, and they feel extreme guilt over it, okay? And so this book is very long, I will tell you that. And it sometimes feels like nothing gets accomplished in it. It's like running around in a circle. There is a plot, there is a climax, there is resolution, but it feels very open-ended. And the reason for that is it's a series, and all these books purposely run together, all right? And so you're not going to end this book with like a happily ever after. I will tell you that. Don't go into this series wanting a typical happy ever after. Because part of this book, part of this purpose is that happily ever afters aren't always what we think they are. Everyone technically gets their happy ending. I will tell you that. But that happy ending looks different for different people. And sometimes that happy ending is sad for some people. The death that happens is someone's happy ending. But it's not a happy ending for others. And it kind of plays on that duality of it, the duality of death and all that. It is written with high schoolers in mind. I had someone ask if I would write a explicit version of this, mainly because they want merman vampire sex, but I don't think it works well with the characters themselves. Like, Xander wouldn't have any problem at all keeping his door open for that, alright? But Eliza would. Eliza's a very proper character, and giving a scene like that for that kind of character, I think, ruins the persona of her that I'm trying to give to characters. I mean, give to readers. And so you're not going to get that in this story, in this series at all. That being said, I do highly encourage you to pick it up. I'm sorry if I'm talking like in a monotone today. Like I said, I'm not feeling the best. But this is the first book in an urban fantasy series meant for teens. Don't go into it thinking Twilight or Vladimir Todd. It's its own thing. It's my own twist on vampires. I do use the modern vampires have a soul thing going on, but they aren't shiny. They do have this natural evil nature to kill, and we do see Matt struggle very much with that. And so there are a lot of deaths. There is some gore in here. It's not 18 plus. I try to keep it under 17 because it's meant for younger readers. But this series is a teen book, so it's much cleaner than many vampire stories out there, alright? But I love the characters. Like, these characters all hold a special place in my heart. Matthew and Eliza and Xander are my all-time faves. And then you have Ambrosia, who pops up and becomes a much bigger character in the other books. And so, and Demetrius. I like Demetrius. Demetrius started out weird. So when I first wrote this book, I said it started out as a challenge, and it did, but then I took that challenge and turned it into this book. And I borrowed a character from a friend for this book. I had their permission, and I borrowed a character. But when I rewrote the book for publication, I took that character out, but I still needed someone who would fulfill that role that that character played to a degree. And so I created Demetrius. And Demetrius is an angel that walks the fence, all right? He's supposed to be a good guy, but sometimes he doesn't make the best choices, and he's aware of that. And everyone calls him a denim clad angel because he literally just wears jeans and a jean jacket, and he uses a walking stick, and he is the angel of pathways and the angel of the harvest, basically. And so he knows the outcome to things and he tries to help it, but he also has these rules where he can't interfere with free will. And it really drives him nuts sometimes because he wants to interfere with their free will because he knows how things are going to end if he doesn't. And his character is very much an exploration of how we want to control things and we can't, and then we have to face the consequences. And he does step over the line a couple times, and he does have to face the consequences. And I know someone who she says that Demetrius is her favorite character. She's from her name's Ursula. I want to say New Zealand. I could be wrong. She's not from America, but I think it's New Zealand. Her name's Ursula, and she loves Demetrius. He's her favorite character. And then I've got people who love Eliza, and people who love Xander, people who love Matt. Most of the teens who read this book tell me they like Matt. He's the main character of the series, and he is the one who tells most of the point of views. This book is written different than the others. All three books are written differently on purpose, okay? They're written like they are from the people telling the story. So this book comes from our vampires, alright? And so this book is written in first person point of view, told through primarily Matt and Eliza's point of view, but sometimes you get Xander in there, alright? It's first person point of view. It's supposed to be like you're sitting with Matt and Eliza and they are telling you the story, alright? That's what this one is. The second one is written different because the second one comes from the Siren's point of view. And then the third one's written different because it comes from the werewolf's point of view. And so each one is written differently, and this is the only one that's told through first person. Alright, I will tell you that. So don't go into the series thinking the whole thing's told by first person. This is the only one written that way. Alright. And if I could change one thing about this book, which I won't, I've already published it and I've already edited it several times, so I'm not going to go back through and change this. I think this is a great start for the next series. I do think the next series is going to be more popular than this because it's going to be more action based and have a better outcome. It's actually going to have a more concise resolution than this one does. This series, like I said, doesn't technically end with the bad guy being defeated. Alright, I will tell you that. That it doesn't actually solve the legit problem. And that's because it's supposed to reveal the problem for the series that's coming. Alright, the series that's supposed to be written is the one that actually fixes it. And I am working on it. I'm just toying with it because we have a darker, more mature Matthew in that one because he's been through crap. Because these three books lead up to his character development in that one. But if I could change one thing, it would be the first two chapters of this book. And that's because it is literally the same thing written from two different point of views. I did that on purpose. When I wrote it, I did it because I was like, I want to show you these two people's personalities and how they're different from each other. I want to show you how Matt is thinking versus how Eliza is thinking. But now, after I've learned a lot more, a almost a decade into the future, this was printed in January of 2018. Um, I would have not done that. But my writing style has changed, and I've learned a lot more in the publishing world since I first wrote this. This was my first full-length published book, and I was literally still in college. No, I wasn't. I was fresh out of college when I did this. I graduated college in 2015. This got published in 2018. So in those 3 years, I was rewriting it. So, um, I would have changed that. I really would have, but I love it for what it is. I love it for being my first book that I have out there. When people ask me what book they should start with, I will say that this is not the one I recommend because my writing style has changed so much. When people ask me what the first book is they should start with, I immediately recommend either The Jewel of the Wasted Glades or The Strange and Unusual History of Enon Estate, just because that is what I am now. That is the writing style that you're going to most see. Um, this writing style is out of date for me, but I love it so much. And so I'm going to read you the synopsis, and then we're going to call it good on this first Details and Diamonds book tour. And the synopsis is Matthew Hex was once a normal teenager whose biggest worry was whether or not his parents discovered his failing grade in algebra. He enjoyed chili dogs, video games, and hanging out at the mall with his friends. But all that changed on a cold night in November when his young life was suddenly cut short. Death gripped his soul tightly and would have succeeded in delivering him to his afterlife if it wasn't for a sympathetic vampire who happened upon the teen's body. Now, 2 years later, Matthew has managed to find a new normal as he adjusts to life as one of the living dead. He has a sire, a place to call home, and a steady food supply. Things are good for him, even if they aren't perfect. However, finding peace in death and holding on to his remaining humanity turns out to be a harder task than he imagined. When he finds himself the target of a group of zealous slayers who would stop at nothing to find what they're looking for. Add in his overprotective sire, a cynical siren, a denim-clad angel, and his lichened girlfriend's father, Matthew soon realizes that the normal he's found is really just a tangled web of white lies, meant to shield him and his companions from each other's past mistakes. As the lies begin to unravel, Matthew must hope that his new life won't be as easily shattered as his first one. So, go pick this up. It's in paperback and Kindle on Amazon. It is coming off of KU in February, so if you have KU, read it fast. Alright? And the cover looks different. The cover is much more appealing now, I promise. I didn't have access to Canva Pro at the time to make my covers pretty, so I had to use a basic Amazon cover system. And so, yeah, this is the first book, and that is supposed to be the reef, but it has drastically changed, and now the cover is so much prettier. And if I could, I'd pop a picture of the cover up on here, but I'm not that talented and I have no idea how to edit videos like that, as we have learned. So if you know how to edit videos like that, let me know. Also, let me know if you like this format, if you liked the diamond painting format with it or not. I'm gonna probably watch the video before I post it. I usually don't because all my stuff is unscripted and I don't care to script them. I feel like it feels more like a conversation if it's not scripted. Although you do have to listen to me ramble and babble because of that. But I want to make sure our camera angle was good. So, let me know in the comments if you liked this camera angle and you liked the diamond painting I did, or if you think I should scrap the whole idea and just do book tours face to face, like we've been doing with Stitches and Stories. Alright? Ignore the hole in our creative corner. A Scentsy thing, a round scent circle that I've been hanging on my wall for months, fused itself to a diamond painting that I didn't seal. There were 2 issues there, see? And so the oil from the Scentsy thing fused itself to the diamond painting. And when I went to pull the Scentsy thing off to hang up this one, which is not as oily, it's a different kind of thing, okay? It's a Scentsy bar instead of a Scentsy circle. It pulled off the diamonds from the diamond painting and left a huge chunk of emptiness, and I couldn't put the diamonds back on. And so Lady and the Tramp is gone. It is now in the trash, and I do not plan on redoing it because had I known there was so much brown on that one in the first place, I never would have done that one. It turned out pretty like candlelight, but there was so much freaking brown. I love diamond paintings that have multiple colors in it. I don't like them when it's all the same color in different shades. So I'm not going to redo that one. Also, you're going to notice these things start changing because I'm going to take all the Disney princesses down because I have a couple more kind of this style pieces that I'm going to put up. And I'm going to rearrange this wall a little bit. Stitch might stay. I like Stitch. He reminds me of my niece. So he might stay. But Ariel gives me weird looks. I don't like her face. Like, she looks okay on the camera, but up close and personal, her nose is weirdly shaped. I don't know what's going on there. And I like Snow White, but you can't see it. Snow White's all the way up there. The outline on Snow White is supposed to be 7 dwarfs, and it's very hard to tell what it is. And so I'm just gonna take down these princess ones, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. I'm gonna put them somewhere because maybe I'll hang them up some other place some other time. But they're gonna disappear, and we're gonna revamp this wall and make it a little better and intricated because we have all these hand drawn stuff from my niece and nephews over here and my friends. And I'm gonna take down the pictures from the Inker book, which we'll talk about later in a different book tour, and put them back in their safety sleeve and put them away. But that's going to be revamped, so that hole won't be there for too long, I promise. Same with hopefully down here, I'll get it all figured out. That's what's going on. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great day and stay warm, stay happy, stay healthy. Bye, souls.